When the Cation attack hit the human colony on Zephyrus, it was the kind of slaughter and butchery that could only be unleashed by an alien race consumed by bloodlust and driven mad with a frenzied need to exterminate humanity. Plasma bolts seared through the air, ripping humans apart, vaporizing flesh, splattering blood and guts across the ground. Razor-sharp alien blades flashed, lopping off heads, limbs, slicing open torsos, spilling entrails in the dirt. Agonized human screams echoed as the colony burned. Daniel Griffin, seasoned soldier in an elite unit tasked with defending humanity's galactic colonies, had seen his share of combat against hostile alien threats. Nothing prepared him for the sheer savagery of the Cation assault on Zephyrus. The fierce feline warriors attacked without warning or mercy, quickly overwhelming the human defenses despite the colonists fighting back with everything they had. These humans were farmers, miners, factory workers, armed with nothing heavier than pistols and hunting rifles. They didn't stand a chance against the battle-hardened Cation troops with their plasma cannons, vaporizing hundreds. But still, the colonists fought like hell, rallying behind the handful of human soldiers on Zephyrus. Gritting his teeth, an icy rage building in his gut, Daniel and his squad went to work, blasting alien warriors into bloody scraps of fur and meat. They set up kill zones and crossfires, targeting the Cation heavy weapons. One human rocket took out an alien APC in a fireball. Another sent a plasma cannon turret pinwheeling through the air. Daniel and his men held their ground through sheer balls and marksmanship, even as that ground grew slick with human blood. Barricaded in a bombed-out HAB unit, they poured precise rifle fire into the Cation ranks, the air thick with the iron stench of gore and the screams of the wounded and dying on both sides. Finally, human reinforcements from other worlds arrived and unleashed a devastating orbital bombardment. The aliens fell back under the onslaught, dragging their dead. Daniel stumbled through the rubble-strewn hell of the ravaged colony, flash-burned bodies and bloody limbs scattered in the streets, the moans of maimed survivors rising from the ruins. Over half the 10,000 colonists were dead, the rest wounded or shell-shocked. White-hot fury built in Daniel's chest. This was just the first strike in a Cation offensive rolling across human space, an implacable foe sworn to humanity's genocide. Daniel had one option left, one final desperate play. Infiltrate deep behind enemy lines on a near-suicide covert mission to uncover their war plans. He had to succeed. The survival of the human race hung in the balance. As Daniel shipped out to the hostile alien reaches, one thought burned in his mind. Humans did not start this war, but by any means necessary. No matter how brutal, humanity would finish it. Daniel's stealthed scout ship sliced through the void, racing deeper into hostile Cation space. He spent days on high alert, monitoring for any sign he'd been detected, catching fitful sleep strapped into the pilot's seat, a blaster always in reach. The recon data pointed to a chink in Felinos' orbital defenses he could slip through. It was a one-shot gambit. If the intel was wrong, he'd be blasted to atoms the second he dropped cloak. At last, the lush green sphere of the Cation homeworld swelled in his view screen. Daniel's heart hammered as he cut thrust, drifting dark and silent. His fingers clenched white on the stick, expecting the flash of plasma cannons any second. None came. He was through. Aiming for the night side, he knifed into the atmosphere, blazing in like a meteor. He set down in a jungle clearing outside a sprawling military base. Daniel quickly burned the ship's registry, rendering it untraceable. Strapping on weapons and recon gear, he melted into the shadows. The base swarmed with Cation troopers, but Daniel moved like a ghost, infiltrating past their security. His cover as a low-life human slaver dealing in exotic alien flesh got him into the compounds. The ruse made him want to puke, but it was brutally effective. Hacking standalone systems, he wormed through firewalls into their net. That's when he found it. Plans for a game-changing weapon that could leave human ships helpless, ripe for slaughter. Daniel's blood ran cold. He had to get this intel back to the fleet fast. "Hey, what are you doing in this system, human?" a Cation voice snarled. Daniel spun, hand darting for his blaster. Too late. The Cation officer was faster. Plasma bolts crackled centimeters from Daniel's face. Daniel dove, rolling, returning fire. The Cation went down in a spray of blood. Alarms shrieked. Snatching the data drive, Daniel sprinted through a gauntlet of enraged Cations. He vaulted a barricade, blaster bucking. Fur and flesh flew. He hit the tree line, plasma sizzling past his head. His ship leapt skyward on a pillar of blue fire, Cation Atmos fighters screaming after him. Hitting orbit, Daniel punched into FTL, not knowing a cloaked Cation warship had seen it all. They pounced out of hyperspace, bracketing him with fire. Consoles exploded, greasy smoke belching, hull buckling. In desperation, Daniel overcharged the FTL drive, redlining into a wild, uncharted jump, the risky kind that gets you killed or lost forever. The ship jolted violently, stars smearing. Damage alerts screamed as the ship fell out of hyperspace. A gray-green world loomed, its gravity well yanking the crippled ship down. Daniel wrestled with dead controls, bracing for impact. The ship augured in hard, plowing a flaming furrow through the jungle. Daniel's restraints snapped, slamming him into smoking wreckage. His head cracked sickeningly. The world went black. Daniel came to amid the ruins of his ship, his skull pounding, warm blood running into his eyes from a gash on his forehead. Pain knifed through his chest with every breath. Likely broken ribs, but he was alive. Dragging himself from the twisted metal, Daniel fumbled for his survival pack in the smoke-choked compartment, thanking every deity humankind had ever conceived that it was intact. He slung it over his shoulders, groaning as his battered body protested. Unholstering his blaster, Daniel staggered from the wreckage. Towering alien trees loomed, gnarled roots twisting underfoot. The air shimmered with heat, thick and humid. A cacophony of strange, animalistic cries and chitterings echoed. He tried his comms. Static. Scanning, he picked up no signals, no signs of civilization or technology. Just this oppressive, primeval jungle. He was marooned on an uncharted planet. The precious intel on the Cation weapon burdened immensely in his mind. Humanity had to be warned, but his ship was unsalvageable, comms fried, no clue where he was. Gritting his teeth against the pain, Daniel limped deeper into the alien foliage. He needed shelter, needed to treat his wounds, needed a plan. Unblinking yellow eyes watched him from the shadowy undergrowth, fang-filled maws slipping open to taste his unfamiliar scent. The hunt was on. Daniel pushed through the dense foliage, sweat pouring down his face. His lungs burned as he gasped in the humid air. Every step sent jolts of pain through his battered body. He activated his handheld scanner, searching for traces of his wrecked ship. The device crackled with static. Daniel smacked it against his palm in frustration. "Come on, you piece of junk," he muttered. The scanner flickered to life, revealing faint energy signatures scattered across the jungle. Daniel grinned despite his exhaustion. There was hope. As he trekked onward, the jungle came alive with alien sounds. Shrieks and growls echoed through the trees. Massive insects buzzed past his head. Daniel's hand never left his blaster. A piercing roar shook the air. Daniel spun around to see a monstrous creature burst from the undergrowth. It towered over him on 6 legs, its maw filled with razor-sharp teeth. Daniel fired his blaster. The shots bounced harmlessly off the beast's armored hide. He dove to the side as it lunged, feeling the rush of air as massive jaws snapped shut inches from his head. Rolling to his feet, Daniel sprinted through the jungle. Branches whipped his face as he ran. The creature crashed through the foliage behind him, gaining with each stride. Daniel's foot caught on a root. He tumbled to the ground, crying out as pain lanced through his ribs. The beast loomed over him, ready for the kill. Suddenly, a volley of spears struck the creature's flank. It roared in pain and anger, whirling to face this new threat. Daniel gaped as a group of humanoid natives emerged from the trees. They were short and stocky, with mottled gray skin. They hurled more spears at the beast, driving it back. With a final roar of frustration, the predator retreated into the jungle. Daniel's rescuers turned to face him, brandishing their weapons. One of the natives, adorned with elaborate bone jewelry, approached cautiously. It jabbed a spear towards Daniel, barking out words in an alien tongue. Daniel raised his hand slowly. "I mean you no harm," he said, knowing they couldn't understand. He pointed to himself, then made gestures of peace. The natives conferred among themselves, clearly uncertain what to make of this strange intruder. An elderly native hobbled forward, leaning on a gnarled staff. This was clearly their shaman. It peered at Daniel with milky eyes, then nodded and grunted something to the others. The tension eased. The natives lowered their weapons. The one with the bone jewelry beckoned for Daniel to follow them. Relief washed over Daniel as he realized he'd found allies on this hostile world. But his mission was just the beginning. Somehow, he had to find a way to contact the human fleet and warn them of the Cation threat. The fate of humanity still hung in the balance. As Daniel followed the natives back to their village, he noticed strange formations in the distance. Towering stone spires rose above the jungle canopy. He wondered what secrets this alien world might hold, and if they could provide the key to saving his people from annihilation. The last human armada hung crippled in space, disabled by the Cation anti-FTL weapon. Their ships drifted helplessly, easy prey for the circling Cation warships. But humanity wasn't finished yet. A desperate rescue mission launched toward the hostile alien world, where Daniel Griffin's smoke signal had been spotted. A heavily armed shuttle detachment punched through the Cation blockade, engines screaming as they plunged into the planet's atmosphere. On the tower summit, Daniel fought for his life. Waves of deranged natives swarmed up the crumbling stone steps, howling for his blood. His muscles burned with exhaustion as he swung his makeshift club, crushing skulls and shattering bones. Blood and sweat stung his eyes. "Get back, you bastards!" Daniel roared, kicking a native off the edge. He stumbled, pain lancing through his wounded leg. A native leapt on his back, clawing at his face. Daniel slammed backwards, crushing his attacker against a stone column. Panting, he dragged himself to the signal fire. Natives were trying to douse the flames. Daniel snatched up a burning branch, swinging it in wide arcs. The smell of singed flesh filled the air as screaming natives fled from the flames. "Come on," Daniel muttered, scanning the sky. "Where are you?" A sonic boom split the air. Daniel's heart leapt as he spotted the contrails of human shuttles streaking overhead. They'd found him. Below, a heavily armed Marine company led by Sergeant Mara Jacobs deployed from the shuttles. They fanned out, weapons ready. "Move out!" Jacobs barked. "We've got a man to save!" The Marines pushed through the dense jungle. Vicious predators lunged from the shadows. Plasma rifles crackled, filling the air with the stench of burned meat and ozone. Hostile tribes attacked from hidden tunnels and platforms in the trees. The Marines fought back with ruthless efficiency, but paid a heavy toll. Men screamed as poisoned darts and alien blades found gaps in their armor. "Keep moving," Jacobs shouted, firing her rifle one-handed as she dragged a wounded soldier. "We're not leaving Griffin behind." Meanwhile, Cation hunter-killer teams raced through the underbrush, intent on claiming their prey. The two forces collided in a series of bloody skirmishes, the air filled with plasma bolts and the screams of the dying. Jacob's unit suffered grievous losses, but pressed on. They wouldn't abandon Daniel like so many others left behind in this brutal war. On the tower, Daniel listened to the sounds of battle growing closer. His strength was fading fast. Blood soaked his tattered uniform. He slumped against a wall, blaster clutched in trembling hands. A massive Cation force converged on his position. Daniel knew the end was near. He closed his eyes, making peace with his fate. At least he'd die fighting. The first Cation warriors crested the summit. Daniel raised his blaster, determined to take as many with him as he could. Suddenly, human battle cries erupted from below. Sergeant Jacobs and her remaining Marines launched a desperate uphill assault against the Cation force. The tower erupted in chaos as the two sides clashed. Plasma bolts and explosions lit up the night. Bodies tumbled from the summit. In orbit, Human strike teams systematically took out the Cation anti-FTL installations. The human armada sprang to life, unleashing a withering bombardment on Cation forces planetside. Inspired by the arrival of reinforcements, Daniel found new strength. He staggered to his feet, joining the frenzied counterattack that broke the Cation lines. "Griffin," Jacob shouted as her team finally reached him. "Let's get you out of here." They fought their way to the extraction craft under heavy fire. Daniel stumbled aboard, collapsing into a seat as the engines roared to life. They blasted free of the atmosphere, punching through the weakened Cation blockade. But their ordeal wasn't over. Cation reinforcements had arrived. A climactic battle engulfed the system as both fleets clashed in a titanic engagement. On the flagship's bridge, a battered but defiant Daniel watched the battle unfold. He clutched the precious intel that might turn the tide. The fate of humanity hung in the balance. Balance as the battle unfolded before him. The view screen blazed with the fury of combat. Human and Cation ships locked in a deadly dance. Fighters swarmed like angry hornets, plasma bolts and missiles crisscrossing the void. "Status report," Daniel barked, gripping the console as the ship shuddered under enemy fire. "Shields at 60% and falling," a lieutenant called out. "We've lost the Intrepid and the Valiant. The Cation right flank is pressing hard." Daniel's eyes hardened. He'd seen too many good people die already, but the intel he'd brought back had to be worth something. He punched in a series of commands, transmitting the data on Cation vulnerabilities to the fleet. "Sir, we're receiving new tactical data," the weapons officer announced, "implementing jamming protocols now." The effect was immediate. Across the battlefield, Cation ships began to falter, their dreaded anti-FTL batteries sputtering and dying. A cheer went up on the bridge. But the victory was short-lived. The Cations, enraged, redoubled their assault. Human ships vanished in expanding balls of plasma and debris. The battlefield became a graveyard of twisted metal and frozen corpses. "Admiral Singh is hailing all ships," the comms officer reported. Singh's weathered face appeared on the main viewer. "All vessels, this is the Admiral. Divert all power to forward shields and follow my lead. We're going straight for their jugular." Daniel's eyes widened. It was insanity, but it just might work. The human fleet surged forward as one, a wall of energy shielding their advance. Cation fire splashed harmlessly off their reinforced defenses. They punched through the enemy line like a battering ram, zeroing in on the Cation flagship. Daniel felt a surge of savage joy as they unleashed hell on the enemy vessel's exposed underbelly. Explosions blossomed along its hull as critical systems failed. But their triumph was short-lived. Cut off from the main fleet, they found themselves surrounded by vengeful Cation forces. What happened next defied belief. Cation fighters hurled themselves at the human ships in waves of suicidal fury. Shields buckled under the onslaught of mass and energy. Klaxons blared as system after system failed. "We can't take much more of this," the helmsman shouted. Daniel watched in horror as human ships began to vent their atmosphere, jettisoning the broken hulks of Cation fighters along with their own crew. Men and women he'd served with were cast into the void, their bodies contorting in the vacuum before freezing solid. Just when all seemed lost, Daniel's console lit up with an incoming transmission. He punched it through, revealing a schematic of the Cation flagship. "Admiral Singh," Daniel called out. "I found a weakness in their reactor matrix. If we can hit it just right, we might be able to trigger an overload." Singh's face was grim as he processed the information. "It's a long shot, but it's all we've got. All remaining ships, form up on me. We're making our last stand." Daniel fed targeting data to the weapons systems as the battered human fleet took up defensive positions around Singh's flagship. The Cations hammered them mercilessly, but the defenders held firm, buying precious seconds with their lives. Through the maelstrom of battle, Daniel caught sight of a familiar face on an enemy transmission. Commander Gruss, his old nemesis, sneered from the bridge of the Cation flagship. "I see you, Daniel Griffin," Gruss growled. "Your pathetic species ends here. All batteries focus fire on the human command ship." Energy beams lanced out, battering Singh's already weakened vessel. Sparks flew on the bridge as systems overloaded. "Shields are gone!" someone shouted. "We can't take another hit like that." Admiral Singh's voice cut through the chaos. "Divert all remaining power to engines. We're going in." Daniel's hands flew over his console, locking in the final targeting solution. This was it. Do or die. Singh's voice crackled over the comms one last time. For humanity. The flagship lurched forward, accelerating to impossible speeds. Daniel braced himself as they hurtled towards the Cation vessel. At the last possible second, their remaining weapons blazed to life, striking true. The universe seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a silent flash that outshone the stars themselves, both ships vanished in a cataclysmic explosion. Daniel's world went white. He felt a moment of searing heat, then nothing. As consciousness faded, his last thought was of Earth and the hope that their sacrifice would be enough. In the terrible silence that followed, escape pods drifted at the edge of the system. Their occupants stared in mute horror at the sea of debris that had once been two mighty fleets. The greatest battle in human history had come to an end, leaving only ashes and memory in its wake. But in those ashes lay the seeds of defiance. Humanity had been bloodied, but not broken. And as the survivors gazed out at the star-strewn void, they knew with unshakable certainty that this was not the end. It was only the beginning.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.